My view on the following statement, the Commerce Clause, the secret weapon of Congress, is that I support it. This power is given to Congress by the Constitution. In Article 1, Section 8, Clause 3 of the U.S. Constitution, it states that Congress has the power to regulate commerce with foreign nations and among the several states and with Indian tribes. The meaning of the word commerce is a source of controversy as the Constitution does not explicitly define the word. Some argue that it refers to simply trade or exchange, while others claim that the framers of the Constitution intended to describe more broadly commercial and social interconnections between citizens of different states. Thus, the interpretation of commerce affects the appropriate dividing line between federal and state power. Moreover, what constitutes interstate commercial activity has also been subject to consistent debate. In Gibbons v. Ogden, the Supreme Court held that interstate activity could be regulated under the Commerce Clause, provided that the activity is part of a larger interstate commercial scheme. In Swift and Company v. United States, the Supreme Court held that Congress had the authority to regulate local commerce as long as the activity could become a part of a continuous current of commerce that involved the interstate movement of goods and services. In the case Wickard v. Filburn, Roscoe Filburn was a small farmer in Ohio who harvested nearly 12 acres of wheat above his allotment under the Agriculture Adjustment Act of 1938. Filburn was penalized under the act. He argued that the extra wheat that he had produced in violation of the law had been grown for his own use and thus had no effect on the interstate commerce since it had never been on the market. In his view, this meant that he had not violated the law because the additional wheat was not subject to regulation under the Commerce Clause. The power to regulate interstate commerce includes the power to regulate the prices at which commodities in that commerce are dealt in and practices affecting such prices. The fear Congress had was if we allow one farmer to grow his own wheat and not buy it, who's to say everyone else wouldn't do the same? Looking ahead, they could not let Filburn grow this much of his own wheat without negatively affecting interstate commerce in the future. I agree with Congress on this, although I can see how Filburn would be upset. There really isn't a way to allow one farmer to grow wheat and no one else. If everyone were to grow their own wheat, then prices would be plummeting. So now let's talk about the case Gonzales versus Raich. In 1996, California voters passed the Compassionate Use Act, legalizing marijuana for medical use. California's law conflicted with the Federal Controlled Substances Act, which banned possession of marijuana. After the Drug Enforcement Administration, the DEA, seized doctor-prescribed marijuana from a patient's home, a group of medical marijuana users sued the DEA and the U.S. Attorney General. The medical marijuana users argued that the Controlled Substances Act, which Congress passed using its constitutional power to regulate interstate commerce, exceeded Congress's Commerce Clause power. The district court ruled against the group. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals reversed and ruled the CSA unconstitutional as it applied to interstate medical marijuana use, relying on two Supreme Court decisions that narrowed Congress's Commerce Clause power, U.S. v. Lopez and U.S. v. Morrison. The Ninth Circuit ruled using medical marijuana does not substantially affect interstate commerce and therefore could not be regulated by Congress. I believe it is important for Congress to have power over this than it is for everyone to have power. Congress is chosen to be non-biased, and many people are trained in some way so that they are an accurate representation of us, the people of the United States. Every case that goes through the Supreme Court is defining what the Commerce Clause means. Like I previously stated, there are a lot of things in the Constitution that have room for interpretation, but we are starting to know exactly what the Commerce Clause means. I am in support of the Commerce Clause. I trust that the Congress has used it accordingly and will continue to do so throughout history. Thank you for listening. All of the references that were used in this video will be listed in the description.